Hey everybody, I wanted to show you a new way we are going to be playing back baptism tracks in Ableton. I think it's going to be easier than the old way we were doing it, and I think it goes along really nicely with some of the changes we've made in Ableton recently. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Probably the biggest change that we're doing with this update for how we play back the baptism tracks is we're not going to be playing back from session view. We're not going to need to go into session view. We're not going to have that complicated track setup where one track flows into the next. We are going to be playing back the baptism tracks loaded into a sampler instrument. That instrument is called Simpler in Ableton. And it's the same type of idea of how we're now currently playing back our rehearsal cues for our guide track in Ableton. So you can see now we have a locator point for the baptism tracks. Now there are no baptism tracks on the arrangement view that's going to play back. Like I said, it's going to play back from the Simpler instrument. So if I blow that up a little bit, you can see that I have a MIDI region with a MIDI note. So that's going to trigger the baptism tracks to play back. And just like any baptism, they're going to play for however long you need them to play for your gathering. And then when we're ready to transition into the next song, in this case, I have for an example in this session a follow-up song, Been So Good Reprise. It's going to crossfade out of the baptism tracks and then into Been So Good Reprise. And you can see down here the baptism tracks have this MIDI region, which has a controller message to have that MIDI note sustain out, so the baptism tracks will continue to play. So if I turn on automation, you can see how I have a crossfade here in the automation to crossfade out of the baptism track. So I'm going to demonstrate that really quick. Let's start the baptism tracks, and then I'll get into Been So Good Reprise. And you can also see here in the automation that the baptism tracks are at full volume. So they're going to play out. And then when I'm ready to transition, I'm just going to select this Been So Good Reprise marker point.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So when you get your Ableton project for the weekend, we'll already have all this stuff in there. But if you want to go in and adjust this crossfade, you want to make it longer or shorter, you can do that by editing these points. And I'm sure you guys know how to do that. So let's go down to the baptism track. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to select this right here, which is going to open up a Simpler, which is the Ableton instrument that plays back the file. You don't see it here. It says it's in multi-sample mode, but it actually is there. So I have all these controls set up. You don't want to really mess with them. One thing you don't want to change is the release. This is why it's playing, after I trigger into a new song. I have it set to 60 seconds, so that's important to keep there. You want this retrigger on so that if, for instance, you start the baptism tracks and you have to start them again, that they won't start playing over top of each other. So just things like that you don't really want to mess with. But the volume, the overall volume of the track, you can change here with this volume. I have it at -12, so it plays it a little quieter. As far as the output channel for the baptism tracks, it's a lot easier than we used to do it. It's going to be right here on the baptism track itself. You're going to set it, mine says 1 and 2 right now, but you can set it to whatever you need it to be.